The Nintendo Switch 2 has finally been revealed, and let me tell ya, it looks pretty awesome. It's a lot bigger, the design has been fine-tuned a bit, the Joy-Cons have some cool new features, and of course, we got our first look at the next Mario Kart game, Mario Kart 9. At least, I think it's Mario Kart 9, I don't know what else they would call it. Regardless, we got a new Mario Kart on the way, and I'm very excited. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was a great time, sure, but I'm so ready for the next game. There are many things I'm looking forward to in Mario Kart 9. What's the character roster gonna look like? Are there any new items being introduced? What kind of battle mode will there be? But most importantly of all, what are the racetracks going to be? The racetracks are what make Mario Kart, and many of them have gone down to some of my favorite levels in any Mario game. Even the more basic tracks have a certain charm that most kart racers fail to capture, and with Mario Kart 9 coming later this year, that means we're gonna get a brand new selection of tracks along with it. Obviously, we'll be getting a bunch of new tracks like Mario Bros. Circuit, which we saw in the trailer, but it hopefully means we'll also be getting a selection of retro tracks. Ever since the DS, Mario Kart games have brought back a handful of tracks from previous games, and I'm really hoping that stays the same for this next game. So today, we're gonna go over my wish list of retro tracks that I want to see return in Mario Kart 9. I'm gonna go through each game in this series and pick 3 nominees for tracks I'd like to see make a comeback on Nintendo Switch 2. This will entirely be based on my personal opinions, so don't be surprised if certain tracks don't make it in this video. So without further ado, let's go! What do you want me to say? Super Mario Kart isn't exactly known for having memorable tracks. Most of them range from nothing special to Jesus Christ, this track sucks ass. But anyways, after taking a look at my options, my 3 nominees are gonna be Mario Circuit 4, Ghost Valley 3, and Koopa Beach 1. Mario Circuit 4 is the only SNES Mario Circuit that has yet to be remade in any capacity. It's decently long and has plenty of shortcut opportunities. If they remade it in a way similar to GBA Mario Circuit from 8 Deluxe, it could be pretty fun. For Ghost Valley 3, I mostly picked this one because I really love the creepy atmosphere of this track. There's also a bunch of holes that you can fall through, and the walls fall apart if you hit them. I think if they did something similar to the tour remix of Ghost Valley 1 and added extra layers, that would make this track a lot more interesting. As for Koopa Beach 1, I'm gonna be completely honest. I saw this custom track by a user named I Am Better that remakes Koopa Beach 1 for Mario Kart 8, and I absolutely loved it. I think if Nintendo did something like this in Mario Kart 9, that would be pretty sweet. Next up, we have Mario Kart 64. Just like the first game, Mario Kart 64's tracks aren't the craziest in the world, but they're definitely a step up from Super Mario Kart, and there are a few I wouldn't mind seeing again. My 3 nominees are Frappe Snowland, DK's Jungle Parkway, and Wario Stadium. I've always been a sucker for winter-themed levels in video games. Frappe Snowland is a very simple snow track, but it's got some cool stuff. I love how calm and pleasant everything looks. There are these snowmen that can get in your way if you're not careful, and the Mario Kart Tour version adds a glider ramp in a pretty cool spot. DK's Jungle Parkway is another really pleasant track. It's not the best DK track, but it's fun for what it is. Plus, it has some neat elements like a bridge that leads you into this huge cave or this giant jump over the river. Now, brace yourselves, but I actually hate Wario Stadium. It's the only track left from Mario Kart 64 that hasn't been remade, and that's because it stinks. This thing is way too long, it's so ugly with no decorations aside from Wario's smug plastered across the walls, and there's no stage hazards. So then, why do I want to see it back? Well, the thing is, I honestly think this could be a really good track with some retooling. Maybe they could turn it into a 3-section track instead of 3 ungodly long laps. They could add obstacles like fire bars or piranha plants like we've seen in other stadium tracks, plus there's already tons of bumps and ramps that would be perfect for tricking off. All of this would be great in a modern remake of this track, so here's hoping it actually happens. Just like with Super Mario Kart, Mario Kart Super Circuit isn't exactly known for having the most memorable tracks, and any memorable tracks it does have, most of them have already been remade in 8 Deluxe, so I had a bit of a hard time coming up with nominees. But for right now, I'm gonna go with Lakeside Park, Cheep Cheep Island, and Bowser Castle 4. Lakeside Park is a fun track taking place in this tropical forest area, but the main reason I want it back is the volcano. You can see a volcano in the background, and this thing will launch fireballs onto the road that you have to maneuver around. This one thing helps the track stand out so much. It gives it this sense of danger yet excitement. Cheep Cheep Island is a very relaxing track. I love the warm, vibrant colors, the way the track splits in half multiple times throughout the race, and the Mario Kart Tour version adds Cheep Cheeps that bounce all over the track. Then there's Bowser Castle 4, and the only reason I'm picking this one is because of Mario Kart Tour. The original Bowser Castle 4 is fine, it's okay, but the remake in Tour is phenomenal. The castle is all destroyed, there's tons of splitting paths and places to do tricks, and I especially love this one part where a bunch of pinballs are falling from the sky. Honestly, it doesn't even have to be Bowser Castle 4. If any of the Bowser Castles from Super Circuit came back and they looked like this, I'd be pretty happy. Now we're talking. Mario Kart Double Dash is where Nintendo really started to go buck wild with the tracks. While many of this game's best were already in 8 Deluxe, there are still a few we can pick out. My 3 nominees are Mushroom Bridge, Wario Coliseum, and Rainbow Road. Mushroom Bridge is a pretty typical city track where it's all about avoiding cars, but some of the cars have unique effects like giving you a mushroom or completely knocking you off your cart. You can also drive up the side of the bridge, that's pretty fun, plus the music for this track slaps so hard. Next we have Wario Coliseum. Unlike most tracks which consist of 3 laps, Wario Coliseum only has 2 because of how frickin' long it is. This is a beast of a track. It twists and turns however the hell it feels like, there's so many ramps that launch you high into the air, and it is so easy to fall off this track, even at the lower speeds. But that's exactly what makes this track so fun. The sheer thrill you feel as you blaze through this track is amazing, and exactly why I want to see this track return. And finally, we have the GameCube rendition of Rainbow Road. Mario Kart games in recent years usually like to end things off with a retro version of Rainbow Road, and I want Mario Kart 9 to end with this one. It's one of the few Rainbow Roads across the series that hasn't been remade, and it's just an amazing version of this track. Driving up and down these giant corkscrews is fun. I love flying up this rainbow cannon thing. Even small details like items floating in the sky or stars falling onto the road, it all adds up to make this Rainbow Road stand out in such a great way, so I hope it gets another chance to shine later on. As I'm sure many of you know, Mario Kart DS has some of the most iconic tracks in all of Mario Kart, and many of them didn't make it into 8 Deluxe, so they might have a good chance of returning in 9. My 3 picks are gonna be Luigi's Mansion, Delfino Square, and Airship Fortress. As a full-time Luigi enthusiast, I love Luigi's Mansion. This thing feels like it was pulled straight out of the GameCube game. I love the dark, creepy atmosphere, driving inside the mansion with portrait ghosts hanging on the wall. Plus, you get to travel outside of the mansion where there's a graveyard and a mud section with walking trees. Delfino Square is one of those tracks that just gives me happy feelings. It's a pretty standard course in the middle of a town, but it's so pleasant. I love the music, I love driving through the small marketplace, and the ending where you jump off this humongous ramp is very satisfying. Then there's Airship Fortress. If any of you have played Super Mario Bros. 3, then you remember the infamous airship levels from that game. Well, Airship Fortress is pretty much the racetrack version of that. The beginning has several bullet bills being shot at you, the airship itself has rocky wrenches and fire bars to watch out for, and the ending has you getting shot from a cannon and into this tower. It's one of the best tracks from Mario Kart DS, so I'm really hoping that it makes a comeback. I swear to God, if Toad's Factory is not in the next Mario Kart, I'm going to have a meltdown. Why does Nintendo just refuse to acknowledge this track's existence? I guess it just wasn't good enough for the Booster Course Pass. Oh, but Daisy Circuit was. Toad's Factory is amazing. The huge hydraulic presses, the conveyor belts moving crates along, the construction site at the end with giant bulldozers. This is a Mushroom Cup track, yet it has this much depth. It captures the factory setting perfectly, and it's so much fun to race on, but for some reason, the track has never come back in any Mario Kart game. They didn't even have the decency to make a Mario Kart Tour version. Toad's factory has been stuck on the Wii for too long. Out of every track in this video, this is the one I want to see return the most. Please, Nintendo, make it happen. You know you want to, just do it already! So yeah, if you couldn't tell, Toad's Factory is my first nominee from Mario Kart Wii. My other two picks are Dry Dry Ruins and Bowser's Castle. I've mentioned in the past how I'm not the biggest fan of desert-themed levels, but Dry Dry Ruins is one of the better ones. The main thing that saves it from being boring is this temple you go into. There's some half-pipes for you to trek off, and there's a pit that's constantly filling up with sand. Then there's Bowser's Castle. In my opinion, the Wii version of Bowser's Castle is the best in the entire series. It's one of those tracks that feels legitimately dangerous. The sheer amount of obstacles you have to avoid, from thwomps to fireballs to this gigantic Bowser statue, is insane. Plus, the music is genuinely frightening with how hard it goes. Let's just hope that if this track does come back, it's just as intense as it is on the Wii. Let's move on to Mario Kart 7. This game faces a similar issue to some of the other games, where most of the best tracks have already been in 8 Deluxe, but there's still a few good ones that have yet to make a return. My 3 nominees are Shy Guy Bazaar, Woohoo Loop, and Wario Shipyard. Shy Guy Bazaar is another decent desert track. The whole Arabian theme is cool, plus there's some neat stage elements like this marketplace you go through, and this part where you glide through the air with Shy Guys flying on magic carpets. As someone who grew up with a Wii, I played a lot of Wii Sports and Wii Sports Resort, so to get a track like Woohoo Loop that's completely based on those games was really something special. It's a 3-section course where you travel all across Woohoo Island. The scenery is absolutely beautiful, and the music is a remix of the Wii Sports theme. It's not the most unique track in the world, but man, it's a joy to race on. Wario Shipyard is the 3rd Wario track I've talked about so far. I guess that just goes to show how neglected my boy's been recently. Weirdly enough, I find this to be one of the more forgettable tracks from Mario Kart 7. Having a course themed around pirates and racing through a bunch of sunken pirate ships is really cool, but for some reason, I keep forgetting this one exists. However, it's still a good track, and I wouldn't mind seeing it again. At last, we've reached our final stop for the day, Mario Kart 8. It's crazy to believe this, but once Mario Kart 9 releases, all of the tracks Mario Kart 8 introduced will technically be considered retro tracks. I don't even know what you could do to make these tracks that much better. Regardless, my final 3 nominees from Mario Kart 8 will be Shy Guy Falls, Sunshine Airport, and Electrodrome. I don't know what it is, but I love Shy Guy Falls. You drive up and down these massive waterfalls. I love how the Shy Guys sing along to the music when you get close to them. Good stuff. Then there's Sunshine Airport. Just the thought of racing through an airport is a really cool idea, and I especially love this moment where you're gliding out into the sky and an airplane is taking off at the same time. I mean, come on, you can't tell me that doesn't look sick. And finally, we have Electrodrome. This is definitely the standout course of Mario Kart 8. It looks awesome with all the neon imagery and sound effects. The music is fantastic and will slightly change depending on what section of the track you're on. Easily one of the coolest tracks from Mario Kart 8, and I'd love to see it again in Mario Kart 9. Now, before we wrap things up, I have one honorable mention I'd like to throw out there, and that's from the mobile game Mario Kart Tour. When Nintendo added the Booster Course Pass to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the majority of the tracks came from Mario Kart Tour. This was done as a way to preserve them, as Mario Kart Tour will eventually go offline, and because of that, I highly doubt any of these tracks will come back in Mario Kart 9. However, there was one Mario Kart Tour track that did not make it into 8 Deluxe, and that is Piranha Plant Pipeline. It's a track where you travel through multiple pipes, all with different layouts and obstacles to avoid. It's pretty fun, and since it's the only tour track not in 8 Deluxe, I wouldn't mind if it showed up in Mario Kart 9. It'd be a nice way to tribute Mario Kart Tour one more time before it eventually goes offline for good. And there you have it. That's my wish list for retro tracks I'd like to see return in Mario Kart 9. Let me know down in the comments what tracks you'd like to see return, and if there's any other Mario Kart 9 related videos you'd like me to make. But with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and make sure to subscribe so you can see more videos like this in the future. Have a great day, stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one.